We have some breaking news for you Winnipeg Jets fans today. On the morning of July 30th, 2025, Kevin Cheveldayoff and the Winnipeg Jets have agreed to terms with RFA defenseman Dylan Samberg on a 3-year contract extension. We're going to talk all about this deal, why I think Dylan Samberg is so important to the future of the Winnipeg Jets, why I think it's great that they avoided arbitration, and why I think they left a little bit on the table. But before we do hop into this video here, it looks like about 83.2% of people watching the videos here on Jets Digest have not subscribed to the channel. I'd highly suggest you throw a subscription our way. We're talking Jets all throughout the offseason and into the next, and a subscription is the best way to make sure you're staying informed. So let's hop into the video. Let's talk about this deal. We have the information coming out from Murat Atesh. He has the details here. He says, the Winnipeg Jets have agreed to terms with defenseman Dylan Samberg. The deal is 3 years, $5.75 million AAV. So yes, the Winnipeg Jets and Dylan Samberg avoid arbitration, and I talked about this in a video just the other day, why I think it's so important for the Jets to avoid arbitration with Samberg. The reasoning, and I think that a lot of people didn't really understand why I was saying this, the big reasoning has to do with the fact that in arbitration, the longest deal that is able to be agreed upon is for 1 year. And if that was the case, that would have taken Dylan Samberg right to free agency, and he would have been able to walk and lead this team with the Winnipeg Jets getting nothing in return. So avoiding arbitration was key for the Jets, and unfortunately something that shifted the negotiating power a little bit more in Dylan Samberg's favor. Today, July 30th, is the day that they were set to have their arbitration hearing. If it got to the point where they walked into that room, had their hearing, at that point, it would not have been possible to sign him for longer than 1 year. So getting a deal for 3 years is fantastic. It's great because I think Dylan Samberg is super duper important and very key to keeping this Winnipeg Jets window open over the next few years. And further to that point, if Dylan Samberg were to have only signed for 1 year, he would be joining players like Cole Perfetti, Adam Lowry, Kyle Connor in being free agents next year, and something that Chevy has to deal with over this next year. So getting him under contract for 3 years, and just in general being longer than 1 year, is super duper big for the Winnipeg Jets. However, where my frustration comes in is the fact that Dylan Samberg in the past, we have seen many reports come out saying that he was interested in a long-term deal. And we all know it can be a little bit difficult, providing a contract number for a defenseman who isn't exactly a point getter. We can take a look at his stats this past year. He had 60 games played, 6 goals, 14 assists for 20 points. You can take a look at his time on ice, and I think that is the thing that is the most important here, is that Dylan Samberg has become a minute muncher for the Winnipeg Jets. He's 26 years old, turning 27 this next year. He blocks tons of shots. He had 120 shots blocked this past year. He's 6'4". He's great at doing everything you need a two-way defenseman to do. He's a big body who can separate players on the rush away from the puck. He's great at retrieving the puck in his own zone. He plays good defense in front of the net. He's a great PK player. We can dive into, actually, let's head over to his JFresh chart. We can take a look at this here. Once again, if you've never seen these before, I'll go through my usual spiel. Blue is good, red is bad. Percentile number that you see is where he ranks in the league. So he in general ranks at an 85% WAR, which means wins above replacement. Basically, very good. He's great at generating even strength offense, being in the 71st percentile. Great at stopping opposing offenses. His even strength defense is 87%. His PK percentage is 90%. Basically, all blue here. He is a very valuable and important defenseman. And when we talk about the things that he does, we can take a look directly at his numbers this past year. So that previous chart was for the past 3 years. This is for this year alone, and dives into more of the micro specific stats. And what I want to point out here is his exit possession rate, which basically means when he is trying to get the puck out of the zone, how often are they leaving the zone with possession? And it's up at 97%. Once again, in the 97th percentile. It doesn't mean 97% of his exits they have possession. It means that he, among the league, is at the 97th percentile. We can take a look at his passes, 91 percentile, 91st percentile. His pass entry prevention is 74%. His entry denial rate, 81 percentile. He is fantastic at stopping the opposing team's offense, as well as retrieving the puck and getting the puck up the ice with possession. The worst thing that you would want to see from a defenseman is, having to work so hard to separate the other team from the puck, getting the puck and then just dumping it off the, boards and out, glass and out kind of thing. And the other team just grabs the puck, regroups in the neutral zone and comes back at you while your players are still tired and haven't had the opportunity to get off the ice. Dylan Samberg doesn't do that. Dylan Samberg gets the puck. He stops opposing team's offense. He gets the puck and gets it out of the zone and passes it to the players like Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and allow them to create offense. And further to that point, Dylan Samberg came into this lineup and replaced Brendan Dillon, a player in the top 4 for the Winnipeg Jets, alongside Neil Pionk, a player who has had some down years with the Winnipeg Jets recently, maybe not looking like the player we once saw him to be. And Dylan Samberg came in here and helped stabilize Pionk, helping him have a good year and getting him a new contract. He recently, this past year, signed a contract extension for the next 6 years at $7 million. And it's something that I would have liked to see Samberg get a deal very similar to that. He's making 5.75 these next 3 years. I would have been happy to add an extra million or two. I mean, maybe not two, but $1 million and a bit. Get him up to that $7 million range. If that allows you to sign him for 6-7 years, maybe even 8, who knows, then that is something that would have been super duper smart. The cap in this league is going up every single year. Within the next 3 years, it's likely that the cap is going to be $20 million higher than it is today. And, that's good for Dylan Samberg. It allows him to get more years of being a top 4 defenseman under his belt. He'll be 29 when this contract ends. And then at that point, having the experience that he does, proving himself to be, a top 4 defenseman, in my opinion, I would say on a better team, he could be even the top defenseman. Unfortunately, obviously we do, or not unfortunately, luckily we have Josh Morrissey ahead of him. But my point here is that it would have been really, really good business to lock up a player like this for longer, considering the fact that he also wanted a long-term deal. And just, again, even further to the value that Samberg brings to this team, just some interesting stats, and, that you can take these at face value for what you want, but the Winnipeg Jets last year, Dylan Samberg was injured for a part of the year, and while he was out of the lineup, the Winnipeg Jets were a 500 team. They had 11 wins, 9 losses, and 2 overtime losses for basically 11 wins and 11 losses, but with Dylan Samberg last year, they were the President's Trophy winning team that we saw them to be. They had 45 wins, 13 losses, and 2 overtime losses. Just to kind of show, again, the value that Dylan Samberg brings to this team. And the frustration for me comes in the fact that the Winnipeg Jets could have signed Dylan Samberg for more money. They have the cap space to do it. So why not invest now in a player who's going to continue to get better and keep him under and on your team for longer at a lower number? That is my main point. And I think, again, the deal that we see today, the 5.75 for $3 million, comes down to the fact that Samberg had a lot more negotiation power the longer that this went on. So, again, my frustration is more with not signing him earlier. Again, we saw how they dealt with Gabe Vilardi, giving him a 6-year deal. That's the type of thing I would have loved to see for Dylan Samberg. Get those two players kind of on the same track. Would have been fantastic. But regardless, it's not all doom and gloom. Of course, I am very happy that the Jets were able to get Samberg signed for at very least the 3 years that they got on this contract, rather than the 1 year he would have got had this gone through salary arbitration. Of course, this helps keep the number down a little bit. We can see they still have almost $4 million in cap space this year. That could potentially be used for, if the Jets are still on a cup path, if they end up being a contender again this year. Can be used at the deadline. They'll accrue some cap space throughout the year. Of course, they'll have Jonathan Taves' bonuses to pay out, which, this gives some wiggle room for them to pay that out on their cap this year rather than having it bleed over into the next year. And further to that, we can also take a look at other money coming off of the books at the end of Samberg's deal. He ends his deal at the same time as Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello, as well as Alex Iafallo. The $5 million almost that Dylan DeMello is getting currently, he'll be 35 at the end of that deal. And if he's, if he wants to still play with the Jets, I would imagine he gets a heavy pay cut, closer to the $1 million, $2 million range. We'll see where he's at in his career at that point if he wants to stay. But my point is that a lot of that money can be allocated to Dylan Samberg. Josh Morrissey, we'll see where he's at once he's at the end of his deal. Of course, he'll be around 32, 33 years old, I believe. If my math is correct. And like I said, there's also the $3.6 million that Alex Scheifele is currently making, and he'll be off the books at that point too. And of course, the cap is going up. So there will be money to spend if at that point, Dylan Samberg is due for a raise. I think that the Jets will be able to stomach it and keep him. And, again, I really like this player. I hope he stays a Jet for life. I think he's super duper underrated and one of the best two-way defensemen in the league, and will prove to be that over this contract. So hopefully it doesn't bite the Jets in the ass, the fact that they've only signed him for 3 years. But I don't think it will. At the end of the day, we'll see how the Jets do in these next 3 years, how Dylan Samberg does. And regardless, I'm just happy he is on my team for the next 3 years. And that'll finish it off for me today. I have a question for you. What do you guys think of this deal? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's an overpay? Do you think it's an underpay? Do you wish that it was a longer term deal? Do you wish it was a shorter term deal? Are you a fan of Dylan Samberg? Let me know anything you think about it in the comments down below. Drop a like on the video, and I'll be here on Jets Digest doing breakdowns whenever any Jets news comes out, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.